welcome to Aging Gracefully. I want you to live a long, healthy life without regrets. And today, I have someone with me who is definitely aging gracefully.
Oh, thank you.
Welcome, my dear friend, Jane Hanlon.
Thank you for having me.
Well, it's so fun. You're here visiting me from Houston
Yes.
and Denver area as well,
Yes.
kind of. And today, I'm going to have you take over the show. There's been one request over and over from viewers and subscribers, and they have said, could I have somebody interview me? Well, I don't think I'm nearly as interesting as my guests.
Oh, you are. You are.
But I thought, okay, well, let's do that. And who would be better than my dear friend Jane? So go ahead, Jane. It's your show now.
Well, I'm excited to be here, and I've been following what you've been doing. And one of the things that I find really interesting is your tagline about a long and healthy life, which, yes, but no regrets. What that strikes me. Why? Why no regrets?
I'd say I have learned through my students, as a teacher, the different classes that I've taught. My students, my friends, my family, I have heard many regrets. For example, now I'm in my 90s. I never made it to Europe. I never hiked the mountains. I never went on a cruise. And I always had wanted to do that. And now I feel I'm not in good enough health. I don't have the stamina. And then I heard it the other way.
Oh.
Like, oh, I'm so glad that in my 50s and 60s, I was so active. My wife and I traveled the world and did everything we wanted. And I'm so grateful because now his health, her health, whatever it might be, is so poor. I don't resent being a caregiver because we did so much in our younger years.
So no regrets.
So, yes. So I think it's important to consider at every age, how do we really want to live? What do we need to do to make ourselves feel satisfied with our life?
That's a good point. So do you have an age that you want to live to be?
It's a funny thing. Since I was a child, I always said, I'm going to live to be 104.
104.
104. I don't know why. I don't remember ever not saying that. Maybe I wasn't that young. Maybe even it was later. I was 20 when my mother passed away from a car accident. She was only 45. So maybe that was part of what reinforced that. I want to live a long time, a long, healthy life.
So do you think maybe this idea of wanting to live a long, healthy life is part of what got you started on this healthy life kick? Now, exercise, healthy eating, has this always been a part of your life? Or where did this all come from?
Interesting, because you've really made me think of this. And as we prepared for this, and you told me you wanted to know that. Well, I loved ballet as a child. I did 10 years of ballet, tap, acrobatics, and that was fun. And then I'd say I went through teenage years where I was too cool for that. Stopped. And then when I got to be about 20, I found jazzercise and realized, oh, I could get right back into dance, which I did and enjoyed. I still go to jazzercise when I get a chance. I still love it. I love dance. From jazzercise, I went into weightlifting. I don't even remember how I went for the first time.
Right.
But I feel super fortunate that I connected, it sounds funny, but with a group of men who were very serious about their weightlifting. And this was a time where there weren't very many women in that weightlifting room. They were respectful and they were serious and they taught good form. Specifically so that we would have no injuries.
Right.
So that is when I started down that path of being really strong and realizing that there's a way to move that keeps us healthiest.
What about like the healthy eating and when I met you, I was a student of yours as a yoga teacher.
Hmm.
And so yes, an alignment based studio where you talked about how to do everything the correct way, but you brought so much more to it.
Okay, so probably from my years in the gym, I
Mhm.
really started looking into nutrition.
Mhm.
It was about really just being healthy and strong. My strength meant a lot to me.
Mhm.
I became a health coach, I don't know, 10 years ago, maybe.
Mhm.
That was kind of like, oh, I might as well just get certified. I've been giving people advice for so many years.
Right.
I went on a vacation to California and took a yoga class. And Jane, I could not complete that class.
Ow.
Now, it was an advanced class,
Mhm.
but still, why would I think I couldn't do it? I was so strong. I was in such great shape.
Right.
Well, there became another challenge. When I
Ah.
came home from vacation, I called a friend. I knew she owned a studio. Hey, where's your studio? Because I got to try this now. But I don't do anything kind of halfway. So I
Right.
jumped in and started with, 5, 6 days a week of yoga. Within a year, I was doing the yoga teacher training
Mhm.
just to keep advancing myself.
Mhm.
And then when I met you, was in Houston. I lived
Right.
there those few years and really feel blessed that studio.
Mhm.
Let's just give kudos to Sue Brooks right now, who's the owner of the Woodlands Yoga Studio.
Right.
Anyone who's in the Houston area really needs to go to that studio to just see the quality there.
Yes.
So that's when I got my 500-hour training
Okay.
and then took the whole alignment and form thing to another level.
Right.
But then it didn't stop there, did it?
You
I
keep learning,
know.
don't you?
I'm I'm really obsessed with how we move and how
Okay.
we stay active.
Mhm.
So then I got into more and more information with fitness conferences, functional aging,
Mhm.
functional movement, functional yoga.
Right.
So that's
Kind of
where we are now.
where you've gotten here. And I know everything that you do in your classes because I had the opportunity to come to some of your classes here. It was great to be in your classes again.
I loved having
It's all with intention. I mean, you're always thinking about what movement do we need to do. And it's not about just in the class,
you. Hmm.
but how does this translate to life outside of the class? That movement, we want to keep moving,
Right.
whatever we're doing.
Yeah. I told my students, if you can't learn something here in class that you can't take home with you,
Mhm.
well, then I'm not doing my job. I want you to learn how to move in strength and balance or yoga
Mhm.
so that you go home, you do your gardening without injury, that you're lifting something up, maybe from the low cupboard or reaching up above, or whatever, that are lifting, pushing, pulling, moving, grabbing is all done safely.
Safely.
There is a
Mhm.
way to move our bodies with the least amount of injury.
Right. So I know I didn't start yoga till I was 55, and we didn't talk about our ages.
Oh, yes.
So I'm now 58,
And I am 60.
and I didn't start till 55. And I think there was a part of me, well, raising children and working, I was sort of last and sort of taking care of
Hmm.
myself was, but I did finally have time to invest in it and found I loved what I was able to do. When I asked my body to do things, it responded. And as you age, if you don't do that, you stop moving, it's hard to get going again.
Right.
So I felt it was important. But your students are a lot of different ages. So is there any time you're too old?
That's a great question. And my students do range from about 45 or 50.
Mm-hmm.
My oldest one is now 96 and a
Wow.
half. My oldest regular one
Mm.
is 93. I've taught up to 102.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm. So there is no age you can't start. You need to have the right teacher.
Yes.
That's for sure. You need to have someone who's been trained, who understands the body as it's aging.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's my passion.
Right.
So when people say, am I too old? Or, oh, this is my first class, good. You're in the right place. There's no reason a qualified teacher can't mix a first-time student
Mm-hmm.
with someone who's been exercising their whole life. You
Right.
just need to know how you do that.
Mm-hmm. I found it was interesting. There were a number of things in your classes that were challenging, and I was the youngest student I know in one of them, but it was not easy, and yet people were doing it at whatever level that they can, and it was wonderful to see everybody participating. It was really neat.
Modifications are important.
Yeah.
And you probably heard me say, if you lift your arms up high, you're going to work your heart harder.
Mm-hmm.
You feel like you're working hard enough right now, keep your arms down low.
Right.
You can take big steps, lift your knees high. You feel like too much going on today, it's warm, it's humid, whatever, just go low.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe part of the class you work high, part of the class you work low level.
Right.
Sit down if you want for part of the class. If I see you sit down, I'll help you know what to do while you're sitting there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Gentle doesn't mean easy.
No, no, it doesn't. But I do think taking the time within the class, which you do, to make sure everybody is doing what they need to be doing and watching what everybody's doing, to make sure everybody is getting the best experience possible. I really appreciate that from a good teacher, and it was great to see it. So,
Well, I say that my students are good students
mhm,
when I see the class all working at different levels.
because they're taking care of themselves.
Exactly.
Yes, yes. So what is it that you find the most rewarding about this? Clearly it's your passion. I've seen how happy you are doing this, but what is it that feeds your soul?
Yeah. I really truly fall in love with my students. I know I do. And I tell them I love them all the time in my classes. What really drives me, I think, is when somebody thinks they can't
Mm,
and I get them just willing to try.
mhm,
And then, okay, I'll try becomes, wow, I can.
mhm.
And to me, that is so gratifying because you know what comes next? I'm so glad you talked me into trying. I'm so glad I come now. I feel so much better. And now if I don't come, I hurt. I'm stiff.
Mhm,
I'm sore.
mhm.
It's life changing
Yes.
to eat correctly, to eat well, to exercise, to have the proper activity in your life.
Mhm. Well, and I know you have in the past worked with some students with some pretty significant issues.
I have. Again, back to the yoga studio, and God bless Sue Brooks because somehow she saw inside me something I didn't even realize yet.
Mm-hmm.
She sent me anyone who called into the studio with any kind of a difficulty or a challenge. So, as an example, for a while I did private classes with a woman who had cancer and had her leg removed. I had a gentleman for a long time who was paralyzed from MS.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful young girl who couldn't walk, who had cerebral palsy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, a teenager who had had 3 strokes when she was a young child.
Mm-hmm.
So, it goes on. I was always referred to the people who had the challenges, and I realized, wow, I love this. I love seeing their happiness from doing something they didn't think they could do.
Mm-hmm. Starting with, okay, I'll try.
Exactly.
Yeah, you do bring out the best in people. It's a wonderful trait you have.
Thank
I
you.
know that personally. So this aging gracefully that you've put together. I've seen your interviews with some fabulous people. You have had some amazing people as guests So how are you finding these people? Because they're incredible.
My blog
Hmm.
that includes the TV show and my articles and
Hmm.
interviews and all is my most creative piece of art. That's what
Hmm.
I call it.
Hmm.
It is truly art for me. Um, I can so easily see the beauty in someone that I just want to bring out.
Hmm.
And initially, it would be my students very
Hmm.
often because
Hmm.
every one of them is certainly qualified to sit in this chair
Hmm.
and inspire other people. They're
Hmm.
amazing, my students. But then at some point, I just started getting calls and texts and emails. Hey, I met somebody.
Who would be perfect, right?
Yes.
And,
And so now sometimes I actually don't meet the people I'm interviewing until
mhm,
they arrive here at the studio.
mhm,
But I've talked to them on the phone
right.
and um, and I think, yeah, one after another, like, come on, help us all feel inspired and motivated.
Right. Right.
Because on my very worst day,
Mhm.
where I'm feeling down or start to feel sorry for myself, oh, I can just go right down my blog and
See some people
watch an
who,
interview and
oh,
think, what do I have to complain about, right?
right. And people who don't complain just pick it up and move on. And it's very motivational.
Mhm.
It's very motivational.
Yeah. So I fall in love with the people I interview
Hmm.
also. I mean, I think if you take time to meet somebody, know somebody in depth,
Hmm.
everyone has some
Has a
one.
story.
Yes.
Yes, they do. So it's time for us to do the ageless advice. And
Okay.
some of the questions that you've asked your guests that it's your turn to answer. And I got to pick some of these. And one that kind of intrigued me was the question of how often do you think about death?
I know. I surprised you when
Yes,
we
you
prepared for this.
did.
I said, I think of death every day,
Which,
multiple times a
yes.
day,
Ah,
which might sound negative if I didn't explain it, right?
right.
Okay. So again, I lost my mother in a sudden death. It
Hmm.
was instant in a
Hmm.
car accident. And you don't get over a shock like that.
No.
It was very, very traumatic to the family. Well, that alone made me think, oh my gosh, life is so fragile.
Mm,
I never know when I'm seeing somebody for the last time. So I don't like things to be unfinished.
mm-hmm.
I like my farewells or goodbyes to be well done.
Uh-huh.
I love to say I love you often.
Mm-hmm.
And I also think of my own life. Since I don't know if this day or this moment is my last, or if I have 50 years left and will be
Right.
110 someday, since I don't know, I like to think I'm making the best right now, all the time.
I love that thinking of death makes you live a better life. It
Exactly.
really does. It
Mhm.
really does. So I have admired you in our years of friendship, and you have such a strong sense of who you are. And not that you don't struggle, but you know who you are, you know what you want, you know what you want to do, you're working towards it all. So you do have a very strong sense of self-worth that, I have value and this is what I'm going to do. How do you help build that in other people?
Let's see. I think that so not only the experience from aging, but
Hmm.
also back to that trying things.
Mm,
Okay. Like allow yourself to feel fear
yeah.
and move forward with it. As I'll take flying for an example. I'll
Okay.
never love to fly. I just won't.
Right.
I'm okay with that. But I didn't fly for a lot of years
Yeah.
because I wasn't willing to accept that maybe I would die in a plane crash.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Hmm.
I was too afraid of it. it had to get to the point where I wanted to do something bad enough. I wanted to travel. I wanted to go to Europe. I wanted to see different places of the world, that I would have to accept that if I got in that plane in someone else's control, completely out of my control, I might die in that plane crash.
Right.
Okay. That opened my whole world. It was life-changing. So again, back to just feel the fear, find the rational side, like, okay, it's more dangerous to drive on the way to the airport.
Right.
And do it anyway.
Yeah.
And so I am not talking about skydiving.
Right.
I'm talking about something as simple as maybe saying, okay, I'm going to do a TV show.
Right. Or
Yeah.
go take a yoga class.
Yes.
I mean, it's amazing the little fears.
Oh, right.
That
Or
we all need to, that step of just opening that door to something new can be terrifying.
Right. Here's one that I hear all the time. Maybe the viewers will laugh at this. You know what? I'm going to start an exercise program as soon as I lose this weight.
Or when I get in shape.
When I
Right.
get in shape.
Right.
And really, that's like fear-based. Don't worry
Yes.
about it. Just go out there and start.
And do it. And do it. Yes. Yes. So, what is your secret to aging gracefully? Because you certainly are.
Oh, thank you. My secret, if I am aging gracefully, and definitely I have the intention to do so, my secret is really thinking. And if I can expand on that, I've always taken very slow mornings. And I'm not talking about going into just a state of meditation, but I like to get up so early that I watch the morning light. I'm inspired by nature. I have time to think before the rush of the day takes over. I always have written in my journals. I love to write. And I take the time to know, how am I feeling? What do I need for myself? And so I am centered before I move on to help anyone else, do anything for anyone else. And I really come out of my quiet mornings as my best self.
That's lovely. That's very yoga. That I set in the intention. And I mean, I can see where yoga has informed your life in a big way.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, so
this has been just so much fun to learn more about you and how you got to where you are. And I know I have appreciated the role you've played in my life as one of my teachers and then one of my very good friends.
And I love you, my friend.
And I love you.
I'm so glad that we did this too. Thank you, Jane.
Thank you.
And for the viewers, thank you so much for seeing this special show. That is definitely my unique one. And if you haven't been to my website yet, please do. www.aginggracefully.tv, where there are interviews and there are quick to read articles that you can use for yourself or share with your loved ones. Thank you.